Like
Sorry.
30%
So here's the thing that gives red wine a lot of its character is tannins, color chains that are in the water. Tannins in water, and usually where you're going to find tannins in water. What I mean by tannins is this: if you ever run a tub for a bath, if you ever draw a bath and you pour water into a big white tub, a lot of times the tinge in that water can be yellow or an amber or a green color. Those are probably the most common. There are places in the United States where that happens. Florida, tannins are very common. Coastal areas, I'm sure there's places around like Houston and all down the Gulf Shore where it's not unusual to pull water out of the ground and have color in the water. In Portland had, around Oregon, there's actually a rainforest that's on the coastal area there. Well, they get a green tannin that's in the water because of what's on the ground and in water and where it goes and what it settles down through. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. It's just a chance, like bathing in wine, in a manner of speaking. Really, really light wine, like a rosé.
Drink some bath, sip on your
bath
sip on your
water.
wine.
But here's the thing. Those tannins are often large chains of compounds, okay? So large pore activated carbon becomes a very effective means of removing color out of water because of the typical nature of those color chains. Carbon can also, sure, I can use coconut shell carbon to remove color out of water, and I can use wood base to remove like a trihalomethane out of water. But if I don't lock it in, what happens is it's called sloughing off. It becomes subject to being knocked off by whatever the next thing that comes along is. So, and what can happen in the water supply for the customer is this. The carbon filter works for a while really great. A day, a week, whatever it is, a month, and then it gets to a certain point where it's loaded up, and then instead of just stop working, it'll actually just start breaking free a lot of the stuff that it collected and sloughing off a lot of the contaminants because it's not locked in place like that. So addressing your contamination with the kind of carbon, it just works out best. And again, that's why we use coal base with the mesopores, with the medium-sized pores as our primary source, so it gives us a better chance to lock in the most contaminants. Does that make sense? And what's that process called? What kind of absorption?
Adsorption.
Adsorption. Carbon, adsorption. Carbon doesn't actually remove chlorine from the water. Okay? Carbon doesn't remove chlorine from the water. What it does is it breaks out that oxygen from the hypochlorite. So that ion, when you smell a pool, when you smell that chlorine bleach smell, that ion is what's causing that. And if I pull that oxygen out, if I run this over the surface of carbon, that carbon pulls that oxygen out and it creates carbon with the oxygen and then a hydrogen and a chloride. So what I've done, I haven't removed the chlorine from the water. What I've made is a little bit of half of what water is, hydrogen, and then I've put chlorides in the water. And chlorides don't have that pool smell. So Cl2 is what this is usually going to occur in naturally. So what I've done is I've just taken the taste and odor out of the water. I haven't removed the chlorine. I've just made it more palatable for consumption. That's how that adsorption, how that effect is. That's what chemical filtration is. A lot of times it's not removing it from the water, it's just changing the nature of what it is so that it makes it better for the experience. Cool? Hey, Phil, what's up?
What is the effect on that on people that have a concern with the health effects of chlorine?
Okay. And by the health effects, you're talking about like people who do the research about what chlorination and chlorine, free chlorine in the water. That ion, the HOCl, the hypochlorite, is the primary component of that. So we're rendering that, we're breaking that apart as well.
Okay.
There are some people though that have lower tolerances and have concerns about chlorides though as well. So And this is happening in really small amounts.
Sure.
But there could, if you have a particular concern about chlorides in the water, that would be something that you'd want to be, probably you'd have to get down to a finer level to remove it, but it's the hypochlorite that would be the worrisome part of that.
Okay.
And it also, hypochlorite is what, if you're ever taking pumps apart, or if you're ever taking plumbing apart, and you take out the rubber seals and those black gaskets and everything, and after you handle them, your hands are all black, that's that bleach that's breaking down and oxidizing that rubber. So you're making the water less reactive with that as well when you're doing that carbon filtration, breaking down plastics and rubbers and so forth.
So when you do get down to a finer micron to take out chlorides, is that actual adsorption or is that another chemical process?
Ooh, now you're kind of breaking into the other side.
Okay.
So now, because we're talking atomic level, Joy, we're talking actually parts of the water and at an atomic level, and the only way that we can create a barrier to stop that from happening is getting so tight that we're going to have to make a membrane that is selective from what it passes through it.
We'll get to
Yeah, I like that. That's foreshadowing. That's good. Any other questions? So that's chemical filtration. Anything?
They have chloramines up here.
They do. We talked about that.
Right before you came in. Sorry.
No, I'm glad that we're revisiting, because now it reminds me to go back to those filters. So every one of those that Alex has in front of him are carbon filters. Reach out and grab one of those. I don't care which one.
Bad choice, bro.
Dude, that's the high-end one. Why'd you grab that one?
Go big or go home, right?
Okay, so that one. What's the micron rating on that one, Alex?
You said what?
What's the micron rating?
0.5.
0.5. And what can we catch in a 0.5 micron filter all the way down to, what is it rated for?
It's rated for 0.5.
Yeah. What's some of the things that we've talked about contamination-wise? Cysts. So as a physical filter, we can get all the way down to, thank you, Derek. So we can get all the way down to cyst size, an actual living microscopic organism in the water. When you lift that up, go ahead and pick it up again. Now what I'd like you to do is pick up one of those other ones that are the same size. What's that? So what's that one? What's it rated at?
10.
And what's it called?
DFX CB10.
DFX. You know what DF stands for?
I have no idea.
Diamond flow.
Ooh.
It doesn't really, it's diamond flow. DFX, what's the micron rating?
10.
10 microns. Now when you hold those together, comparatively speaking, in comparison, what are some of the things that you recognize one to the other?
This one's a little bit more solid feeling.
The one in your left hand there, the diamond flow?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as like the surface of it, it's definitely more solid surface than this is.
Uh-huh.
It's just solid all the way around, man. It's a solid filter.
It is a solid filter. So diamond flow, what is that? What are the selling points for diamond flow?
It takes out the chlorine taste noter, the bad taste noter, and the sediment.
Yes. Here's what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so diamond flow is 2 filters in one. The reason it feels solid, like you said, because it has that outer exterior sediment filter on the outside. It's a melt blown exterior, and it has a carbon block on the inside. So what you have is a particulate filter on the outside, a depth filter, right? I'm catching stuff all the way through it, and then I have a carbon block on the inside. And that carbon block looks like that. And it's rated for what size? 10 microns. So all of the flow paths in that, what you're looking at here is under an electron microscope. All the water is going to flow through these little caves and crevices, and as it makes its way through, it's going to come in contact with all the surface of our activated carbon. And how big are those openings on that diamond flow? 10 microns.
Yeah,
10 microns. Right there at the surface.
Wouldn't it be 9 microns because it can catch 10 microns?
Yeah, what he said.
It's okay, sure.
It's
actually 9.97 microns. So no, you're right.
Okay,
It's going to catch 10 micron size components on the outside.
Okay.
Nice. I like that. That was good. Again, keeping your ears open. So the outer surface, here's the thing though. Right on the outer surface of that block, if I'm looking at the outside of this right here, that's what it looks like. So I'm starting to filter out 10 micron size items right here. I want to protect that. I don't want it to get I don't want to load that up right away and then not use the rest of the filter. So now I'm going to wrap it with this melt blown cartridge on the outside, where I'm going to catch 10 micron, I'm going to have a 10 micron filter for a depth filter and catch a lot more of the stuff on the outside and protect my carbon block. So that's what Diamond Flow is. It's like a 2-in-1. Instead of,
And what is the material?
that's polypropylene. So the way that's made, Alex, is this. And we make, so that exterior is what's called a melt blown cartridge. So you'll have a core, and it's just a cylinder that'll rotate, and then you have a nozzle that'll shoot out melted polypropylene, and it'll just go up and down on the outside of that core, shooting a thread of melted polypropylene on there until it builds up a filter.
So it's like a 3D printer in a way?
Yeah, we're 3D printing a filter cartridge.
Okay.
Okay? And based on whatever the size of that nozzle is and how much pressure and everything determines what size of openings we have in that filter. This one's sized for 10 microns, okay? And it'll just make that. We cut out the center of that and put a carbon block in the middle. We also make cartridges that are just this, just for sediment loading.
Does it dry pretty quick?
Yes.
So it doesn't go in a cast, it just sit around something?
It dries, it'll cure by the time it comes off of the tool, it'll be cured. And then we'll cut it to length. What's that?
How do you stamp it?
It's called a hot plate stamp.